right, page 84, relics from the age of replication. There are over 350 pyramids around the world. There are thousands of ruinous mounds beneath jungle growth, desert sands found underwater in lakes and rivers and off of coastlines, many of which could have once been pyramids or pyramidal structures. In Egypt alone are concentrated the most of these ruinous piles of collapsed pyramids. There are between 75 to 80 of these heaps in Egypt, some of them largely intact. But there appears to be only one place where true pyramids are found at Giza. The Egyptian and deeper African pyramids were inferiorly put together, most having collapsed because their builders attempted to amass huge piles of rock refuse as filler. They piled up boulders, dirt, and rocks, and sometimes broken architecture from earlier structures into large piles that they then attempted to build on top of or cover with facing stones. This method has never served as anything other than a temporary way of erecting outwardly impressive monuments with very short structural durations. After a decade or a century of settling and subsidence, the structure then loses its shape. Weight is shifted, internal instabilities occur, and the edifice collapses. Such is the story of the ancient Nile civilization and its perplexed architects. Men sought to please their regents with visually impressive pyramidal monuments, and for a while throughout the life of the pharaoh, the ruse worked, but after the passage of time, the monuments crumbled to the obscurity we see throughout Egypt today. The Greeks were they who first called the people of the Nile Valley by the name of Egyptians. Originally, they were called the people of Kemet. When these early Africans initially found these gigantic pyramids, they thought they were the magnificent tombs housing the bodies of great kings or gods. As their own culture progressed, they attempted to replicate these colossi for their own rulers. The pyramids built by the people of Kemet and Saqqara, Abusir, Dashur, and dispersed throughout Upper and Lower Egypt and to the south in Nubia, never achieved even a fraction of the mastery in engineering that was required for the Gizan artifacts. The various construction methods employed in the now dilapidated ruins were intended to be pyramids expose for us today the fact that there never really existed any uniform method of pyramid construction by the Egyptians, and nor could there have been. With the Giza pyramids encased within 100-inch thick white limestone blocks hard as marble, the early Egyptian copyists had to guess at how these gigantic buildings were erected. Had they have been aware that the inside of the monument was built of millions of gigantic blocks of precise dimensions and phenomenal planes in 203 levels, all cemented together with adhesive 1/50th of an inch thick, then these architects might not have attempted to replicate them, or at least opted to try to copy them more accurately than by using unstable rubble or the more temporal mud bricks. The fact that rubble was used as filler also demonstrates that the ancient Egyptians did not originally have any knowledge of the Great Pyramid's internal passage and chamber system. So difficult was the replication process that many pyramids in Egypt were never finished, some having collapsed during construction or were laid so incorrectly that their builders became too exasperated to complete the work. The Egyptian pyramids are from 1,000 to 1,500 years younger than the Giza pyramids, and they are crumbled, collapsed, sinking from unequal weight distribution, and are overall visually unremarkable, whereas the Great Pyramid complex is still intact even after having its casing blocks purposely removed. Even though the internal structure has undergone stress fissuring from subsidence of upper levels, the unimaginable weight of the mass has not sunk an inch in 48 centuries. The greatest architectural achievements of the ancient Egyptians were the temple complexes and palaces of Saqqara, Abusir, Dashur, and Memphis in Lower Egypt, near the Great Pyramid complex around the Delta, Amarna between Lower and Upper Egypt, and those of Luxor, Karnak, at the metropolis of Waset, which is more popularly known by its Greek name of Thebes, and Dendra, Edfu, Nakada, and Abydos in Upper Egypt. Also, we must include the Valley of the Kings and the enormous canal works along the Nile. The Egyptians can be credited with these as important and artistic achievements of their culture. However, these are no more impressive than the magnificent ruins of Knossos, Crete, the Lion's Gate fortress of Mycenae, the majestic walls, palaces, temples, ziggurat pyramids of Babylon, at Angkor Wat in Cambodia, what historians call Mohenjo-daro of the old Harappan civilization bordering India and Pakistan, the ruins of Sumner, Baalbek, and Lebanon, and over in the Americas, we find the equally impressive ruins of Cusco, Tiahuanaco, Palenque, Teotihuacan, Chichen Itza, and Tenochtitlan. I can't say that word. Tenochtitlan. Truthfully, some of the Egyptian piles of architecture are an embarrassment compared to the relics left behind in Asia Minor, the Aegean, and Europe. The temples, canals, and palaces of the Egyptians were awesome edifices because they were original designs and projects, not attempts to replicate pre-existing structures. Many of their pyramids were mud brick buildings and not made of quarried stone. Stone carved out of living rock has a longevity that mud brick constructions cannot equal. This is especially true when using mud brick as filler. The step pyramids of Saqqara and the 12th dynasty pyramid of Amenemhet I are a testament to early Egypt's lack of knowledge in pyramid construction concerning the use and benefits of living rock. Amenemhet I even had his pyramid filled with rubble from old kingdom buildings. In fact, unlike as with so many other feats of Egyptian engineering, not one architectural tablet or writing has ever been discovered depicting how pyramids were built. 24. When one thinks of Egypt today, the image of pyramids automatically comes to mind. However, the Egyptian pyramids outside of the Giza complex are not only inferior to these, they are not even comparable to those found on the other side of the world. There are pyramids on other continents of much more elaborate design and enduring construction in the Americas, monuments to provide us convincing and cognate evidence that their builders not only retained an intimate knowledge of pyramid construction methods, but they were also familiar with the idea embodied in the pyramid's origin and purpose. In North and South America are scores of magnificent and wholly preserved pyramids that have received very little attention by serious historians of the more classical civilizations. These buildings were made of living rock. Because of this, they have survived millennia, even though the cityscapes around them have not. These areas have been covered by dense jungles and forests. The more famous of these pyramid sites in the Western Hemisphere are Machu Picchu and Tiahuanaco in South America, Kolahulu, Teotihuacan, and Tenochtitlan in Mexico, and those of the Yucatec region in Central America, like Chichen Itza, and even a partially ancient pyramid at the Olmec site, 25, and those of the North American valley between Ohio and Mississippi. Except for the pyramids at Giza, there are pyramids in the Americas far larger than any of those erected by the Egyptians. Also, there are pyramids in the Americas in the most unusual places. High in the Andes Mountains of Bolivia is a ruinous city largely carved out of a mountain called Tiahuanaco. No one knows who built the city, but archaeologists and geologists affirm that it was once a port city and had been thrust into the sky 12,000 feet elevation since its construction. Breathing at times can be an onerous task, and the region is infertile due to the high altitude climate. When the Spanish explorers and conquistadors explored the unusually preserved ruins, they were told by the Inca that the city was already present when their ancestors migrated to these lands. 26. Incredibly, even at this isolated locale, stands in Tiahanaku, an old pyramid called Lucaramata. All right. The famous city of the Aztecs outside Mexico City, called Tenochtitlan, is actually a city built many times over. The Aztecs took up residence in it long after they claimed that the Toltecs before them had lived there. They regarded these Toltecs as gigantic men who were very intelligent and knew all the secrets of astronomy and earth sciences. The extensive ruins boast many intriguing pyramidal structures and temples, but the real mystery is in why these people called the city Tenochtitlan. This word is a compound epithet conjoining to send a messenger, Titlan, 27, and Tenoch. The latter is also a conjoined term meaning the man, Enoch. The title of Tenochtitlan carries with it the ideas as place of the messenger Enoch. Though this was not the original name of the unknown city, it was precisely what the Aztecs called it. This could have only been as a result of the careful preservation of ancestral memories and their correspondence to pyramids, which were found in Tenochtitlan. The Aztec glyph for Tenoch was a 7-pointed cactus emerging from a stone, 28. The cactus is the Native American symbol for the pillar, and interestingly, it is the desert equivalent to a tree. The cactus was a suitable symbol linking the idea of a deity, in this case of Tenoch, having the power of life and death with the icon of the pillar. Also found in the ruins of Tenochtitlan was a 135-foot high pyramid with 2 temple structures at its summit that architecturally identify the twin pillar concept, linking it to the Great Pyramids of Giza. This is the Great Temple of Tenochtitlan, and discovered within it was the stone effigy of Ohetotl, the old fire god, 29. The connection to fire is almost as amazing as the eye motif upon the effigy, so consistent with pyramid findings all around the world. The greatest of all pyramids in the Americas in sheer mass are found in the ruins of Teotihuacan in Mexico, where the pyramids of the sun and moon dwarf the surrounding structures. This is an extensive plain full of ruins, but its history is obscure, so old that the Spanish conquistadors found the city already buried, and the pyramids appeared as hills covered in shrubs and trees. The Aztecs considered the site holy and refused to disturb it. To them, it was regarded as the birthplace of the gods, and they had no recollection as to who built it or when it was destroyed. 30. On the entire face of the earth, there is not another ancient architectural site that so closely parallels the Giza complex in Egypt. This site is on the opposite side of the world from Egypt, but it was built with the specific purpose of mirroring architectural traits of the 3 Great Pyramids. At Giza, there is an optical illusion that has caused much confusion from those not in the know. The specialist literature always refers to the Great Pyramid, but all those who have seen it in books, pictures, video, or visually from a distance see 2 Great Pyramids. This is a clever optical illusion, causing the beholder to believe both of these pyramids are identical when they are not. There is only one Great Pyramid, and it stands 203 courses high upon the plateau, but the one next to it, thought to be its twin, is actually elevated on an artificial platform foundation that makes it look bigger than it actually is. In the ancient Mexican counterpart, we find this exact reduplication. The Pyramid of the Sun is gigantic, but instead of it being 203 levels of blocks, it is 203 feet high and filled with smaller bricks and rubble. Though it is much larger than the Pyramid of the Moon, the latter is upon a raised platform to make it appear equal with the former, 31. Such a coincidence can only be traced back to some arcane and forgotten tradition mankind shared thousands of years ago, or perhaps the builders of this stone city complex in America had actually visited Giza sometime in the dim obscurity of Earth's past. Though this is an interesting idea, there is another possibility to consider. It will be recalled that the historian Flavius Josephus specifically mentioned that there were two areas constructed before the flood by the Sethites because they feared that one site might get destroyed by the flood. Though this association seems purely conjectural, we must recall that, where was it? We must recall that the site was initially buried. Also discovered at Teotihuacan was an intricate mural of a dragon serpent lording over two trees with 7 branches. 32. These no doubt symbolize the primordial tree of life and tree of knowledge. Again, once the prominent eye motif. This serpent dragon has a protruding tongue which denotes the power of speech. A talking serpent among two divine trees with 7 branches below an accentuated eye symbol bespeaks of a closer ancestral ties with the ancient Near East than most scholars will readily admit. Probably the greatest artifact out of the Americas relative to our study is that gigantic stone disk known as the Aztec calendar stone, or stone of the 5th sun. This mysterious 24-ton relic is an archaic Mexican apocalypse or book of Revelation hewn out of rock. Comets, floods, disasters, fires, and calendrical motifs all encircle the epicenter, which depicts a face with a sword protruding from his mouth, just as the Revelation text reads that, "And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations." 33. We should not be surprised to find that the stylized symbol for doomsday on the calendar stone looks like a triangle. 34. These ideas did not derive from the Spanish, but were already existing in the New World before the Western European nations began their exploration and colonizing campaigns. The Americas are not without their poorly made pyramids as well. In Mexico stands the Cololú pyramid at 215 feet high, but it has a mass covering 45 acres. Except in height, it is bigger than the Great Pyramid in Egypt, but it is inferior, a heap of earth and rubble covered in bricks, not solid masonry. The pyramids in the Ohio-Mississippi Valley are not true pyramids either, more like gigantic mounds of earth and debris where vast remains of a strange character have been unearthed. 35. The American pyramids seem to be older than their Egyptian counterparts. Some even had limestone facing, as did the Gizayan structures. In some areas, it has been found that pyramids were built over older pyramids, which were in turn built upon the foundations of even older structures. In Volume 1 of Lord Macartney's Travels, we read that in both Americas, it is a matter of inquiry what was the intention of the natives when they raised so many artificial pyramidal hills, several of which appear to have served neither as tombs nor watchtowers nor the base of temples. 36. This is an interesting comment, and one of the Egyptologists have avoided like the plague, not wanting to compromise the sanctity of the ridiculous pyramid tomb theory. Most of the American pyramids are astronomically aligned with associations with the planet Venus and 4 cardinal directions. Both the early Near Eastern cultures and the ancient and more contemporary Americas venerated Venus and carefully recorded its movements through the heavens. The pyramids throughout America are in common with those Egyptian ones outside of the Giza complex in that they did not have interior upper ascended passages and chambers within their construction, and as does the Great Pyramid. Many have entrances that descend under the pyramids into chambers, natural rock recesses, well, or cisterns. The Great Pyramid was long ago known to have an entrance, and it was known that the descending passage went down to a well pit beneath the pyramid. Civilizations around the world that erected pyramidal structures copied this concept, but remarkably, no one built pyramids with ascending passages and upper chambers, which makes the Great Pyramid a unique pyramid among the many. It was about 12 centuries ago that modern men first learned that the Great Pyramid had these unusual features, long after the Egyptians ceased erecting their own versions and to isolate it away from the American cultures, which were still building. This is conclusive evidence that the Great Pyramid was the original and one of a kind. Such is the principal tenet of Freemasonry, that the Great Pyramid is the archetype, the original, and all other pyramids are merely subsequent constructions. 37. It was the first of pyramids, and at the rate by which the others are deteriorating, it will be the last as well, the alpha and omega of pyramids. The fact that the entrance of the Great Pyramid remained hidden for thousands of years does not imply that it remained hidden from human memory.